Good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock and we are going to call the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order Thursday, April 4th, 2024. Today's agenda action will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones and beepers in silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. Board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish your business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restriction must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. The Board of Commissioners convening as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Lyon Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during this meeting may convene as any of those boards as indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. This meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch. Roll call today. We have all commissioners in chambers. Today's invocation was going to be given by Irene Albrighton of First Christian Church. Unfortunately, she's in the hospital right now, cannot make it to the meeting today. So we wish her the best and our prayers are with her. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Henderson, please lead us in pledge.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda action item, but before the board takes any action. Do we have any public comment to start off today's meeting? Seeing nobody in quarters or in chamber or on Zoom, we will move on. For possible action, review and adoption of the agenda. And we'll kind of chop it up a little bit today. Different activities going on, closed session, things such as that. So we will be moving along through this in orderly fashion. So do we have any comments from commissioners today for the review and adoption of the agenda? Have any public input? Okay, do I have a motion to review and adopt the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Is that you, Commissioner Keller?
Yeah.
Okay. So a motion by Commissioner Henderson and a second by Commissioner Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Motion passes 5-0. We have 3 times certain today. One's at 10, 11, and 11:05. So we will be moving on with the agenda to item 7, presentation of awards and or recognition of accomplishments. We have any? No? We'll move to item 8, Commissioner reports. And I'll start with Commissioner Jacobson today.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. Attended the Boys and Girls Club friendly board meeting. We've got our signature event coming up, if you will. And so we're getting ready for that. It's exciting. We attended the Fernley City Council meeting. Attended the TCID water meeting. They're still, I don't know, they're dragging their feet up, filling the canal in Fernley. Not sure why. We hosted a college career fair at Friendly High School, and I just want to give a big thanks to the sheriff department. Miss Stacy Lindbergh, she was there. I had a bunch of kids come up to me, look at, I registered to vote, and so I thought that was really cool. I don't see Stacy in here, but I wanted to give her a shout out. Human Services were there. They had a wonderful booth, and of course, they were voted the most friendly. Nobody should be surprised by that, all right? And then we also had Healthy Communities there, and so it was a really nice Lyon County turnout. They're giving those kids some guidance and something to talk to, and maybe put some goals in their basket, so to speak. Attended the groundbreaking for the Fernley Emergency Response Center. And just want to thank the board and Mr. Foley and Mr. Haskin for moving Monday's meeting to Tuesday. I appreciate that. And then finally, Chair Hockaday, I'll have to be leaving today's meeting about 11:45. I hate to do that, but my son and I need to catch a flight. So thank you. That is all.
No problem. Okay, Commissioner Keller.
I attended the NACO Board of Directors meeting and also the NACO Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee, where we talked mostly about stuff that's going to be on the agenda a little bit, but BLM land and solar fields and stuff that's all coming up before us. I also attended the Silver Springs Advisory Board. That's it.
Commissioner Hendricks.
I attended the Dayton Valley Conservation District Board meeting. We had an extra meeting this month to try and get everything organized there. We finalized the ad posting for a new district manager and already have one applicant, and we restructured the role of the office manager. I also attended the groundbreaking ceremony in Fernley and attended the Comstock Historical District Board meeting, and that board is having some issues with code enforcement, and so they're establishing a committee to work on that. And last night I attended the Stagecoach Advisory Board meeting, and they recognized Angela DeFord for 8 years of service to the advisory board.
Good. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I attended the Nevada Association of Counties Board of Directors meeting. Some of the actions we took there was we approved, a resolution in support of National County Government Month. And we also had an update on the planning for the 2024 NACO conference, which is in Carson City this year. And then we also approved NACO to join up with other Nevada counties to engage Holland and Hart to draft a legal memo regarding recent planning efforts by BLM. I also attended the Mountain House Advisory Board meeting earlier this week, and not to overstate the obvious, but they're not real happy with the county right now. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I accomplished the quarterly jail inspection. I just wanted to compliment Lieutenant Vandiver for an excellent job he's doing. He's taken it really, really jumping in there. I'll tell you, he's got a handle on everything. So I'm very pleased with how he's handling the jail and what he has in store. So definitely very pleased with that inspection last month. The Fernley groundbreaking for the Emergency Response Center, I attended that. Sounds like they're going to get that moving quickly. At a Smith Valley Park Board meeting, we discussed some of the activities going on there. Things such as, improving the soil consistency in the arena and taking care of getting contracts out for our court there to be sealed and painted eventually. And also attended the Smith Valley Advisory Board last night and discussed some of the issues going on in Smith Valley. And that's about it for our reports until county manager steps up.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So yesterday I attended a meeting reviewing some of the proposed alternatives for the Stagecoach Area Drainage Master Plan. That project is progressing nicely. I believe that it should be wrapped up, I think, in June or July of this year, and we'll have a presentation to the board on that plan. The Silver Springs Area Drainage Master Plan is also progressing, and I want to say that'll be done this year too. And so I'm excited. I think that both of those are going to be really good tools for the county and addressing drainage in those two areas as it relates to new development. And I do want to thank Senior Planner Carriola for taking the lead on both of those projects. He started those when he was Community Development Director. We do have a new Community Development Director starting on Monday. I do believe I let the board know that, but I'm excited to introduce him, and we'll get to meet him at that time. We have open meeting law training on April 13th at 9 a.m. for the citizen advisory boards. That the board did determine that was a required training. So we will be sending out reminders to the members of the citizen advisory boards and the other advisory boards that they need to attend that training on April 13th. I am excited to announce that Josh Foley is a finalist for the Cashman Good Governance Award. And so he and I will be flying to Las Vegas next week for the award ceremony. So we're pretty excited about that with the Nevada Taxpayers Association. So I really want to congratulate Mr. Foley on being a finalist. That's a huge accomplishment. And then finally, I just look forward to the budget meeting next Tuesday. Is there any questions? All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go to item number 9. Elected official reports. No elected officials ready to jump up. Okay. Moving to number 10, appointed official reports. Pretty quiet group today. Advisory board reports. Okay. Move to item 12. Yeah. Today, consent agenda action will be taken on all items. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. So first question, commissioners, anything that we want to take off? Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. I'd like to pull 12G, please, from the consent.
Okay. Anything further on that?
I'd like to pull 12E.
12 Echo E?
E.
E. Got it. 12E. So we have 12E Echo and 12G Golf. Okay. Anything further? Any public input on consent agenda?
Chairman Hockaday, I'll make a
Yes.
motion to approve the consent agenda 12A through 12J, pulling 12E and 12G.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Jacobson and a second by Commissioner Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. We'll move down to 12E. For possible action, approve the purchase of a replacement ice machine for the fairgrounds in the amount of $8,000 to come out of contingency funds. Commissioner Keller.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how the funding goes for the fairgrounds, because we got parks boards that are doing stuff. How does it work at the fairgrounds?
That's a Josh Foley question. I'm not sure how their funding is. There are different boards than the park boards are. They have their own tax, don't they, or something? I know they use room tax and all that.
The item before you today, the funding will be coming out of contingency. And just to give you a little bit of background, so this ice machine used to be in the jail previously. And years ago was moved over to the fairgrounds. Prior to having an ice machine at the fairgrounds, the fair board would go and purchase bags of ice at the grocery store, and then they would sell it out to vendors, and it was about a break even. So now with the purchase of, or with the ice machine that was there, they were able to make ice and sell that, and it was actually a profit. I think Mr. Foley told me it was between $1,000 and $1,500 a year on selling ice. So over time, this will pay for itself. The machine that was there broke, so.
My question wasn't, I wasn't too worried about the ice machine because I think it's that. I just wanted to know how the funding mechanism is for the parks, like Central Lyon County Parks. They get a fund, but they can't put it in to new project. They can only do new projects. So I kind of want to know what the restrictions are for the fairgrounds. That's why I just don't know how the funding goes for that. So maybe later we can just get an update on something like that. It wasn't about the ice machine. I was noticing it's coming out of contingency. And I was wondering what the restrictions are as far as that is. So we'll wait till get to talk to Josh.
That might be an item for a different discussion, since that's not what the subject does today.
With that being said, after you take public comment, I have
Yeah,
a
any
motion.
public comment on the ice machine for the park or for the fairgrounds?
Hmm.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Anderson.
Get a bell
Yeah,
here.
just
right?
here. they know.
Thank you, Mr. Cherry. So we only use the ice machine basically during the fair.
And I think it gets used for other events too, that people rent out the fairgrounds.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I just don't know why we need an ice machine when there's vendors because we got to pay electricity for it all year while it's running. And
Yeah, like I said, there are other events and things.
yeah, I'm okay. I'm gonna be a no on this.
Okay, Commissioner Keller,
I move to approve the purchase of a replacement ice machine for the fairgrounds in the amount of $8,000 to come out of contingency funds.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Keller and a second by Commissioner Hendricks. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
And just a comment, I'm probably gonna be a nay on everything coming out of contingency from now on.
All right, 12G for possible action, approve food service agreement between Summit Food Service and Lyon County Sheriff's Office for an estimated total of $350,719.74. This includes 3 meals a day at $3.44 per meal for an average inmate population of 93. Sheriff Pope.
Good morning. Lieutenant Sheriff Brad Pope for the record. Here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman Hockaday. So I did a tag along with Chairman Hockaday to the jail inspection after our last Board of Commissioners meeting. And I want to just give a shout out to Lieutenant Vanderveer. He chatted with us to a great extent about the food program. And so I don't know that this line item probably justified the amount of work and research that he did on that. I know he talked to numerous other jails about their food program, talked to his staff there at the jail. Did something I may not have done, I don't know, but talked to prisoners and looked at the price, did all of his homework on that. So I just wanted to, before I make a motion to approve this, just give a shout out to Lieutenant Vanderveer. That was, he did his homework. And it's my understanding you're switching from one company to another, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It sounded like he held some of the staff from that other thing kind of to the grindstone on expectations as well. So, with that, after public comment and any other board members, I'll make a motion, Chairman Hockaday.
Okay, Commissioner Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one question on the food services. It says that they will provide a cold breakfast, hot lunch, and hot dinner. That's kind of not like what you said last time. We were going to 2 colds and 1 hot.
We went from 2 colds and 1 hot to 1 cold and 2 hot.
So this is correct.
Yes, so
Okay.
we'll maintain.
That's the only question I have.
Okay, any public comment?
Thank you.
Chairman Hockaday, I'll make a motion to approve food service agreement between Summit Food Service and Lyon County Sheriff's Office for an estimated total of $350,719.74, which will include 3 meals a day at $3.44 per meal and an average inmate for the average inmate population of 93.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, and do I have a second? If not, I'll second that, because I know how much work the lieutenant did. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. So we are now done with item 12, and we'll move on to regular agenda. Human Services for possible action, approve the services of independent contractor Isabella Macabelis in an amount not to exceed $16,900 to provide behavioral health clinician services with the Mobile Outreach Safety Team, or MOST team. And Ms. Holmes.
Zipping along today, Shayla Holmes, Director, Lyon County Human Services. You guys have in front of you a contract to be approved. It's with a new contractor. Our goal for our most teams and any of our contract positions is to have a variety of contractors on board, so we don't miss out on the opportunity to expend our grants and don't miss out on the opportunity to provide services when folks are on annual leave, when a contractor drops off, or whatever that looks like. So this is an additional contractor, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Commissioners? Any questions? Anything from the public? Seeing none, you're off easy. So we have 13A. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the services of independent contractor Isabella Macabelis in an amount not to exceed $16,900 to provide behavioral health clinician services with the Mobile Outreach Safety Team.
Do I have a
Second.
second by Commissioner Jacobson. A motion by Commissioner Hendrickson, a second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We'll move to 13B for possible action, accept the notice of subaward from the State of Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Aging and Disability Services in the amount of $150,000 to provide homemaker services to individuals deemed eligible for the ADSD service specifications. And you're up again.
Again, Shayla Holmes, Director, Lyon County Human Services. For the record, we are really excited to be receiving these funds. They're additional funds through state ARPA. They need to be expended pretty quickly. If you noticed, the notice of subaward is through June 30th of this year. So they are one-time significant funds for us to be able to aid in large cleanups of properties for folks that are over the age of 60 eligible through the ADSD service specifications. We partnered with code enforcement to get a list of folks over the age of 60 that need significant property cleanup, and we're prioritizing those to use these funds first because they're large dollar amounts and it's only available for such a short period of time. So we're really excited to get these funds, and we're really excited to get working on them.
Sounds good. Any questions? Oh, got a couple of
These
these.
for-
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. So we're spending tax dollars to clean up people's houses that they've trashed.
For individuals that are eligible over the age of 60 that do not have the ability physically or through income to be able to do it themselves.
To clean up their own mess.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, how they got to that mess, right? A lot of hoarding situations and things like that do come through a variety of different mental illnesses, lack of supports in the home, lack of supports from the community. We do have a few nonprofits that exist that help folks like this, but we are not abundant in them in all areas. So these things pile up pretty quickly and gets out of control pretty quickly for folks without ability to do it for themselves.
So you brought up the question for the nonprofits, or you brought up nonprofits. Are you working in conjunction with them too and with the fire?
Always, yeah. Anytime a situation comes up where the property is in such dismay that it is causing a health and safety issue for the individual, we make use of all of those agencies first. That's all we typically have available to us. We don't normally have ARPA funds coming in such a large amount to be spended in such a short period of time to make that stuff happen. So we really want to maximize it and do as much cleanup as we can in the community, and then get them started on our long-term services that can help maintain it and prevent it from coming back to that same level.
Yeah, sometimes I know it's like my own father-in-law, until he took a fall, he was cleaning up everything, taking care of everything, using everything. And then once he took a fall, then all of a sudden he couldn't go out and take care of things, and things became under disrepair and stuff like that. So there is circumstances where it is.
Absolutely, which is also why these funds are held to the ADSD service specifications, as mentioned, that they have specific eligibility requirements are not available to everyone.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. Ms. Holmes, good to see you. So, and I think you touched on this, but maybe I missed it. So did I hear that after the initial cleanup and help, there's follow-up?
Yeah, we have our traditional homemaker services and handyman services that we offer through our existing grants. This is a significant amount of money coming through the Aging and Disability Services Division to be expended in a short period of time. And so we're utilizing it to get those properties that are bigger cleanup issues up to where they're healthy and safe, and then maintain them going forward with our existing grant funds.
Okay, any public comment? Seeing none, we'll look for a motion.
I move to accept the notice of sub-award from the State of Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Aging and Disability Services in the amount of $150,000 to provide homemaker services to individuals deemed eligible per the ADSD service specifications.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jacobson. So motion by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion passes 4-1. And County Manager. 14A for possible action, authorizing and select county commissioners to attend the National Association of Counties Western Interstate Region Conference in Mariposa County, California, May 8, 9 and 10, 2024, for an approximate cost of $4,000 per person. And this is requested by Commissioner Henderson. Imagine it's going to be a drive down to Mariposa. So go ahead.
I think the item pretty much speaks for itself. I don't know if Commissioner Henderson wants to comment on that. It is approximately half an ice machine for person.
That's what? What did you say?
Approximately half an ice machine per person.
Well, actually, I do think it's important that we send a commissioner. I don't think we need to send two, but a commissioner to this meeting, because we need to be involved in the Western Interstate region. I think the $4,000 is a little high. Round trip from Yerington is 554 miles, so mileage would be 371.18. Southwest flight from Reno to Fresno this morning was $358. So hotels 4 nights, $1,200. I think it'd be cheaper than that, but I would like to send someone. I myself am not interested in going. I believe Commissioner Keller is, but I'll let him speak for himself.
I do think it's a very important thing. This is just the Western Interstate region. This is only for the Western states, and we get left out of a lot of the conversations nationally. And it really works on our BLM decisions and the solar fields. So I do want to apply to go.
Any other input? Any public input? How about a motion to send somebody?
Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we send Commissioner Keller to the National Association of Counties Western Interstate Region Conference at Mariposa County, California, May 8th to the 10th, 2024, for an approximate cost of up to $4,000 a person.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Henderson and a second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Okay, Commissioner Keller will be going in May. And motion passes 5-0 to do that. 14B for possible action. Review letter to Postmaster General Louis DeJoy expressing opposition to proposed changes to the United States Postal Service's Reno Processing and Distribution Center and authorize the board chair to sign. I totally probably read the letter. It's excellent, and I believe it proves the point that we don't want to have it shipped to Sacramento. So go ahead.
Andrew Haskin for the record again. I don't really have a presentation on this. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can, if the board has any changes that should be made. This one was requested. I forgot to put on the agenda by Commissioner Hendricks and Commissioner Jacobson. So I think that this is an important issue, and I know a lot of other jurisdictions have sent letters or made comments. The public comment period was already over, so that's why I feel the best route to go on this is to send a letter straight to the postmaster.
Okay, Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. Mr. Haskin, thank you for drafting this and getting this ready to roll. I just want to first thank some of the public for reaching out and expressing their concerns. And then it's my understanding that this is really basically all we can do. I know I got some feedback and they're like, well, is there anything else? And I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, it's Andrew Haskin for the record. So yeah, unfortunately, we can't tell the federal government how to operate or what they can and can't do. It's some with the BLM issues, honestly. So we can voice our concerns, and I think that's what this letter does. So.
Right. Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I totally supported this. I like letter. However, I think we should copy our delegation with this letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything further for Commissioner Keller?
I too think that delegation needs it bad because they're elected officials. And also, I look at everything from the drugs being sent by mail, checks, everything else. I don't think you can send anything to the state of California and expect it to come back in a better situation than we already have in the state of Nevada. So, and that's including our kids or anything else. So I'm going to be very supportive of this.
And yeah, we can absolutely send it to our delegation. I did want to point out that the delegation has been in contact as well. In fact, as I was preparing this letter, I did review letters that each of them had written and borrowed bits and pieces from it. So full disclosure there.
Anything further from commissioners?
Thank you for putting this together. I think it's important that we speak up when things need addressing.
Anything from the public? No. All right. No.
Chairman Hockaday, I'll make a motion that we approve the letter to the Postmaster General Louis DeJoy expressing opposition to proposed changes to the United States Postal Service Services Reno Processing and Distribution Center, and authorizing the board chair to sign and including the state delegation with this correspondence.
Second.
Okay.
And another second.
I think you got 4 seconds on this one. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion by Commissioner Jacobson and the second by Commissioner Henderson was passed unanimously 5-0. 14C for possible action to discuss and provide direction to the county manager in regards to developing a bill draft resolution for the 2025 legislature, which may include discussion on possible topics for BDR, direction to staff to research and come back with information related to a possible BDR, and input from the public on possible topics for a BDR. The board may direct staff to prepare a resolution and bring back to the board for further consideration.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager for the record. Yeah, so it's that time of year again. We're gearing up for the 2025 legislative session. Lyon County gets one bill draft request that we have to get submitted to the LCB. I think August or September. I have to double check the date.
September.
But this is September. But we need to have ours ready to go by August. This is going to be a standing item on future agendas between now and when we come up with our bill draft request and get it approved. So really, I don't have anything for you, but this is an opportunity for our staff members to come up with potential ideas and for the board to come up with potential ideas, and we can have that discussion. I would recommend that we kind of build a list of potential ideas, and then probably June or July come up with what we want to cover. But that's my recommendation. The board can handle the process any way you want. So.
Commissioner Keller?
So right now it seems a little too early, but I'm glad of getting everything on the radar because we only get our one, but a lot of times we might have 4 or 5 real good ideas, and we can involve NACO to where we can have the strength of all the counties to move forward, or even our legislators themselves, because they get plenty. So I'm just a little bit early. We're just starting to kick into seeing what the committees are doing. So thank you for bringing it forward, and I just don't have anything yet.
Commissioner Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it is time that we get this on our radar. In fact, tomorrow I will be attending the Nevada Association of Counties Legislative Committee meeting. One thing that I am concerned about that I think we need a BDR from, hopefully it will come from NACO and not us though, is a way to monetize the EV charging stations to put funds back into the road fund. Because right now EVs aren't paying anything for using our roads. Yeah, and the Senate bill that mandated the charging stations actually may be a vehicle for us to get some kind of taxing authority or fee authority on that. So that's something that I'm going to be discussing at NACO. But I appreciate you putting this on the agenda so early, because we do got to start thinking about it, because September 1st will be here before you know it.
Yeah, another Commissioner Keller?
I did have a follow-up. If we can touch with our Economic Development Authority, I believe there was a couple that they ran into problems with trying to bring in development in the area, and I want to, join with them a little bit on what's going forward.
And I have been in regular meetings with them as well, so but we'll absolutely do that.
I'd like to see us consider a BDR removing tax abatements for industrial solar, because that's an abatement for a product that doesn't even outlive the abatement, and every county in Nevada is going to be affected by that.
I do know Taylor Allison, our emergency manager, has a couple of ideas too, so.
Go ahead.
Can I go over?
Good morning, Taylor Allison, Emergency Manager for the record. I just wanted to bring forward, as you all are aware, we've had significant challenges with the GPS mobile applications and reporting road hazards. So some recommended policy solutions to help support us as we're identifying hazards on those applications, and hopefully resolving some of these challenges we've had, such as those at Miller and Ayazi. Mandate GPS navigation applications post hazards as soon as possible, but no later than 48 hours from receiving reports from authorized officials. Support communication between GPS navigation application providers and emergency managers, local law enforcement, and other public safety professions through the Nevada Advisory Committee on Traffic Safety or the local emergency planning committees. And then the last one, if there's an opportunity to enhance the Nevada 511 or NV roads platform, where we can post all public roads, including those that are county owned, so that there's a single single application. So that's your list.
Commissioner Keller.
Seeing emergency management step up, that brought back something that was brought forward by former county manager Page a while back on the fire problems that we have on BLM land, and now we don't have the funds to go out there, and we don't have the fire department to fight it, but yet we're supposed to supply that, especially around Lake Lahontan and stuff like that during the holidays and stuff like that. So maybe if we can work on something like that, I've reached out to the different fire groups and see what we can do. But I want that on the radar.
Yeah, there are some areas here in Mason Valley that are really in need of some fire prevention activities, and it'd be a good idea to mention that, get something to them, to BLM, to get out and take care of that. Anything further? Any public input? So my understanding here, we've got quite a few ideas, and this is the beginning of the BDR process. Say that the county manager is taking notes diligently in the corner, and we'll make sure that we get these things down for our next meeting and continue to add or subtract and get stuff ready to go.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner Keller and I will both be reporting back from the legislative committee for NACO on what they're doing, so we don't duplicate efforts.
So I don't see where we have anything here other than if I want to make a motion to list everything and bring it back. Don't see any purpose for that. You've got your marching orders. I think we're good to go on that one. Okay. We'll move on to item 15, board appointments. For possible action, appoint up to 2 members to the Library Board of Trustees with terms expiring June 30, 2024 and June 30, 2025. We have 2 applicants here. Commissioners, anything to say on this? Any comments? Any public input? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion for these 2 appointments.
I move that we appoint Deanne Davis with the term expiring June 30th, 2025 to the Library Board of Trustees, and Jan Shart with the term expiring June 30th, 2024 to the Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
And the motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Henderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 15B for possible action, appoint up to 1 member to the Dayton Valley Advisory Board with a term expiring December 31st, 2024. We have 1 applicant, Tanya Steele. I have Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. I just have a question on this. We don't have a Dayton Valley Advisory Board. We have a Dayton Regional Advisory Board,
That would be true. Third player. I
but
don't know who typed that in. It might have been me.
can we act on that? I'm asking the DA. The agenda item says appoint someone to the Dayton Valley Advisory Board, which doesn't exist. There's a Dayton Regional Advisory Board.
Yeah. Commissioner Keller.
I wanted to make a small comment because he said it's a regional instead of Dayton Valley, but it's an advisory council, not an advisory board. And boards are different in the NRS than councils are. And so we're calling it a board, which is completely different in the NRS.
Oh, that's what it's called, though.
If you prefer, you can always postpone this to the next meeting and then you'll.
I was just pointing it out that
My schedule, it seems to be fairly.
they're all advisory councils. Going by the name of the board.
Advisory board. Clarify.
They're on board, so.
Advisory boards. That's what I call caps.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, however you would wish to proceed, if you want to postpone it, that makes absolutely certain your position today.
Yeah, in my opinion is there's no, ambiguity here. We know exactly what board it
may be-
is, so.
Maybe a
yeah.
distinction without a difference, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So.
Well, with that clarification, I'm ready to make a motion.
I'll hear the motion.
Do we need public comment first?
Yep, public comment. Seeing Tanya Steele is online here. She is the only applicant, so Tanya, you are unmuted. You may talk if you wish to.
You have to unmute yourself, but
Yeah, unmute yourself. We've unmuted you. Are you there? Yeah, are you there? Ms. Steele? If you have no comment, take your hand down, please. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on.
I would just like
Oh,
to
go ahead.
quickly note, since we have our training so close ahead, I wasn't gonna have her watch the meeting from last year, but just rather have her attend this year. So I just wanted to let you know that.
All right, Commissioner Keller, go ahead.
I move to appoint Tanya Steele to the Dayton Advisory Board with a term expiring December 31st, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Henderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Move down, we're gonna recess to reconvene as Willow Creek General Improvement District Board. Don't see the public comment that we normally have on the public participation. Any public participation, you'll have 3 minutes. State your name for the record if you have anything on item 16. Seeing none, I will move on to 17 contracts. 17A for possible action, approve an agreement with the Walker River Irrigation District to lease 30.89 acre feet of Penrose General Improvement District stored water rights until October 31st, 2024 for $147 per each acre foot. No comments anywhere, comments from commissioners, comments from the public, no comments from the staff.
Chairman,
Then I'll look for a motion.
oh, Chairman Hockaday. I guess I'm just curious.
Oh, go ahead.
Is there how do we arrive at 147? Is that basically just to cover the taxes?
Erin Lopez for the record. This is an annual thing that we've been doing consistently since I've been working here. So they send in the letter, as you saw in your backup. They price, I don't know exactly how they come price per foot, but, the lease amount for this, the acre square feet is what is on the very last page of your backup material, how much we have there. But it's been a standing number and I can't exactly tell you how they come up to that conclusion. That's obviously a Josh Foley question. I think he knows more about this than I do, but I helped him put it on the agenda.
I appreciate that, Ms. Lopez. I see Dave Burketta in the audience today. I'm guessing that he's seen increases right along in pricing for Dayton utilities. I just picked him as an example, but I think we could, I don't know, if it's the way it's always been, we don't get vendors treating us that nicely. So I'm not putting you on the spot, Aaron.
Oh, I don't have that answer, but I
Yeah,
guess
I'm just saying, maybe it's just something we look at and increase a little bit. down the road.
I can.
You had go ahead.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So we did actually already approve similar agreements and the consent agenda for the same amount. I'd have to talk with Mr. Foley on what that annual amount is based off of. I'm not sure. But no, the reason this is separate from the consent agenda is because it's a different board. So
Commissioner Keller.
Could you bring us back an update on that of, just so we have a better understanding as a board of what's going on and maybe have the GID? I mean, anything we can learn off that would be helpful. How many people are actually on that GID? Do you know?
as far as how many residents it serves?
Yeah, how many people are part of that GID?
That one.
Maybe we'll bring back that information too. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just got some clarification from utility.
Sorry, that was.
Yeah.
Mm.
Little difference. Andrew asking for the record. So we have about 100 connections on the Willow Creek GID.
Well, that goes to the point of to raise rates or anything else is going to impact that water usage. So thanks.
Anything further on that? Everybody's happy then. Let's public comment I've already asked for. Do I have a motion to approve?
Chairman Hockaday, I make a motion to approve an agreement with Walker River Irrigation District to lease 30.89 acre feet of Penrose General Improvement District stored water rights until October 31st, 2024 for $147 per each acre foot.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobson and a second by Commissioner Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we still have about 10 minutes to 10 here. We'll move on. Going to ask for public participation on 18. Anybody wishing to have any public comments? 3 minutes and step up to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom and identify yourself and spell your name. Seeing nothing on Zoom and nobody in the room, and we will
Let's take a break.
move on to adjourn to reconvene as the Lyon County Board of Commissioners. And I've had a request for a 10-minute break, so we will take a break until about 3 minutes after 10.
Tell them you just.
We're gonna let.
Very nice.
Yeah, I didn't know how that was because that's a separate one. So you get some cats that know that. Is there, they said $100 or they have to? No, yeah.
And we'll get them one that's waterproof, because right now, the one is right now. Keeps tripping it.
Do you have an estimated when you put that in?
Yeah. The new room we're building right now. Well,
It's not. But it has insulation. No, I definitely help that year. Waterproof ones are a little more expensive. Down that's the last step of that. The other one works. But how are you? It seems like when it comes to fair or something, that's. They'll probably say so, that's the way for their information. They'll work, then the next day it's not. Yeah. That's notorious. It is pretty.
So what I did working on my side. I have a. Just. So you're maybe basically. But you unplug it. Oh, yeah.
It is used, if we have a big. Like. Right, I think this would sort of. And it's not a treason.
There was another. Use and use.
Right.
So.
It's
It's different.
They're really
But they said about when they didn't have this.
Right. There are water rights thing, so if you don't, you don't know, we're not gonna use
This
it.
way they go on.
So by getting them back to the grid. And they're gonna bring it out.
What is that?
That's just a little bit more. Water rights and down like this much stuff. I got through about the first 5 pages and then. that slide you out, so. Definitely. Interesting. That I should have thought.
I know the Carson is, it's pretty much dictated by the Alpine.
I
Country.
think
That's
that's.
No,
I get that.
That's part of the reason why Alpine County.
But.
I'd like to know the history. Well, you're also. Water right. Give everybody one more minute.
Actually,
Oh.
when we broke, you said,
Oh,
ten
yeah,
oh three, sorry.
okay, yeah, I misread. Looked like 3. So we'll take another 50 seconds.
Do. I could do the whole Jeopardy thing. Yeah. Okay.
Now it's 10:03. Okay. We'll reconvene with item 6A, time certain. Holmes, you're up.
Good morning, Shayla Holmes, Director, Lyon County Human Services for the record.
There.
Thank you, Aaron. Every year, we bring you information and a presentation on child abuse prevention. April is the month where nationally child welfare partners working on both the sides of prevention and intervention come together to highlight the issue to ensure communities as a whole are invested in making all childhoods whimsical and carefree. This is why the pinwheel is used as the symbol for the campaign. It's not any one agency that prevents and protects our youth. It's the entire community that needs to be involved. Like most data available to us, and I know I've told you guys this many times, we don't have specific reasons for removal within Lyon County. It's presented by the state in 3 regions, Washoe, Clark, and the rurals lumped together. So what you see here are the reasons for removal in state fiscal year 2023 for the rurals. These numbers are not unduplicated. You can't add them together and get a total number. A child could be removed due to neglect and parental drug abuse, or incarceration and physical abuse. All partners agree there continues to be a significant increase and large percentage of families where the caregiver is abusing substances. We continue to see this as a reason decades ago, and it's only getting worse. I have on here for you to see the breakdown of types of drugs reported. Meth use continues to be the leading misused substance. We do receive quarterly reports on the types of reports and their dispositions, such as substantiated or unsubstantiated. Substantiated means somebody went out and identified that indeed there has been abuse or neglect in a certain category. Unsubstantiated means somebody's gone out and has identified that there is not an issue to the degree where it requires formal intervention, but might end up getting referred into other services, such as our services at Lyon County Human Services, to do some low-level intervention and prevention to prevent a substantiated case. And as you guys can see here, our unsubstantiated cases are dropping. Our substantiated cases have also reduced over the years. And while I'd like to believe that this is because there's a reduction of child abuse in Lyon County, there's probably a few other reasons out there why these numbers might drop. I was asked a few years ago when looking at these numbers and going, we're dropping, right? This is great. At a pinwheel planting event, I had a reporter ask me, what is an appropriate or acceptable amount of child abuse reports for a county our size? I think they were trying to get at what is a huge issue or what's a lower issue. What's a high or low data point for something our size as far as a region goes. And while I don't know the national averages for areas of our size, but I believe as long as there's one substantiated case of child abuse, we're too high. So 24 is still 24 too many. I talk to you guys every year about adverse childhood events, ACEs. It's a study that happened and continues to be proven correct for almost 40 years now. It's a longitudinal study that originated with Kaiser Permanente, and it's a 10-question survey. And with every positive response, that individual is more likely to suffer from chronic illness, have risky behavior such as substance misuse and mental illness. I want to point out here that human nature is cyclical. We parent how we were parented unless we have intentional change and intervention to put a wrench in that cycle. Most of the caregivers and adults who are guilty of abuse and neglect have suffered a significant number of ACEs themselves. So research has shifted not only on what's the outcome of adverse childhood events, but how do we prevent them or counteract them? And research is now showing that positive childhood experiences is how we create that wrench. Research shows a variety of ways to intervene, which is the foundation for the evidence-based programs we offer through Lyon County Human Services, which Jen is going to share in just a minute. One of the clearest findings is that all it takes is one well-intentioned adult relationship that can change the trajectory of ACEs in a child's life. So I want to highlight that we are abundant in programs for youth here in Lyon County, which gives our youth the opportunity to have these relationships with well-intentioned adults who care. Those programs are partners such as Boys and Girls Club of Mason Valley and Truckee Meadows, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, who is always looking for volunteers in Fernley. So if you know anybody that's got some extra time, maybe, who wants to be a big out there in Fernley, we're always looking for them. A variety of youth sports programs and also our school districts. Many times a safe adult relationship comes from the educational experience, whether it's a teacher, an administrator, a counselor, or sometimes even a school resource officer, since our sheriff's department's walked out the door already. So with that, I'm going to pass this off to Jenna, who's going to share with you pretty quickly what our Lyon County Human Services has to offer for youth and families.
Good morning. I am Jenna Dykes, Division Manager of Children's Services. So on your screen on the left, you will see a list of our programs that we have offered to Lyon County families. The first ones are our prevention programs. Nevada Families First is an early home visiting program for families who are prenatal with children to age 5. Home visitors go into the home and they work on development-centered parenting and really focus on the development of the child and teach parents that just because a child is doing something that they might not think is appropriate, it is appropriate for their age and how to parent that child. So abuse and neglect is not part of their family. WIC is a very important one for the same demographic of families, prenatal to age 5. It is a supplemental nutrition program and breastfeeding education program. So we are ensuring that kiddos who are most vulnerable, very little, are getting nutritious foods every day. Our Cribs for Kids is a program for families who have infants up to age 6 months. We go into the home, we provide a quick 45-minute lesson on safe sleep, and then we provide the family a free pack and play so that they can put their baby to sleep in the most safest space to avoid SUIDs or SIDS, and we don't have that in the home. Our car seat program provides installations of car seats into cars. It could be their own car seat that we're providing an installation to, or if they need a seat because the child has outgrown their seat, the seat has been in a crash, or the seat's expired, we can give them a new seat for that child to drive away as safe as possible. And then our last prevention program is parenting classes. We offer free evidence-based parenting classes throughout the communities. These can be done in home, in office, in community-based settings, or even over Zoom, so families are getting that really good information. We have families who come court ordered to us, or families who are through our programs, or families that just want to learn more of how to parent their child appropriately. And then we have our intervention programs. These are lower level intervention programs. Parent Project is one we partner very closely with juvenile probation. It's for those teens, and we're seeing younger kids too, who are experiencing those risky behaviors, drug use, running away, risky sexual behaviors. It's a 10-week course once a week, and they really dive into those behaviors and how to overcome them to help the parents parent their children. Differential Response is a program that we partner very closely with the Division of Children and Family Services. This is a lower level intervention program where we are receiving referrals that do not meet the need of DCFS going into the home and doing what they do, but we go in, offer services so they avoid the DCFS system. Then our family support program is very similar to Differential Response, but these referrals can come from anyone in the community. It can be a self-referral from the school. We work very closely with juvenile probation when they get those lower level referrals come to them. We can go out and how can we get this youth to not be involved in juvenile probation. And then on the right of your screen, you will see the wonderful team that does this work every day. They're constantly in homes, having people in office. They are just doing so much wonderful work every day. I have a few of them in the back of the room with me today. So this work couldn't be done without them. So I just truly, truly appreciate what they do. And then recently, Human Services has added the Behavioral Health Division. This is a new and upcoming division in Human Services, and we're so excited to have it. Children's Services has been partnering very closely with them the past year and 3 months. They received funding for Lyon County Resilient Families to prevent opioid use in the homes and other substance use, because substance use is substance use and it can lead to higher use as well. We are going to be working with families through trauma-informed cognitive behavioral therapy. Case managers are going into the home and providing an assessment called a CASI, which is a Child and Adolescent Service Intensity Instrument. And it tells where that child falls and what kind of needs they need. A 1 or a 2 is the lower level, maybe just some individual therapy. 3 or 4 could be more intensive family therapy, and higher could lead up to residential care for the kiddos. And we don't have a lot of residential care, so that could mean sending our kiddos out of state to receive this. We build a service plan with the youth and the family as the leaders of that plan. We're not going in and saying, you have to do X, Y, and Z. We are building that plan with them so they have the buy-in as well. And then we are constantly connecting them to services, hopefully in the area or nearby, so that they can receive the services that they need. And now I will pass it off to Kim.
Okay, hi, I'm Candace Mortensen. I'm the Social Services Manager for Lyon County Division of Child and Family Services. Every year we come and talk to you guys, and I just want to bring one thing that last year when I talked to you guys, I was talking about us being in hotels and in offices with kids, and I want to let you know that our licensing team has worked really hard, and knock on wood, we haven't had any kids in that situation since last May. We've been able to find foster homes, fictive kin relatives, and so I don't know if you guys had any play in, spreading the word about recruiting for foster homes, but it's working. We're getting more, and also as you saw by the numbers that Shayla put up, they're a little off because we didn't only have 64 reports in 4 years. I can tell you that we may have had 64 in a year. So that's a little off. So I'll have to figure that out. But just so you know, I mean, the numbers are coming down, but what we're seeing is more serious reports versus not as serious. So we're seeing a lot more of the substance use that what Shayla talked about. We're seeing a lot of mental health along with the substance use, along with, as you know, the housing in Lyon County is a struggle for so many of our families. And so that's just a lot of, I think it has to do with everything, but we do everything for child and family services. We start with assessments, which is investigations, and then we have services to provide resources to families to keep kids in their home. That's what we try to do. As we found, children do better in their dysfunctional function than outside of that. And so if we can put services in to keep them in their family community, in their family network, then that seems to be the best outcome for a lot of kids. I know sometimes that doesn't make schools and some other agencies very happy with us when kids aren't removed, but it's all the statistics and everything just from the years I've been doing it too. I mean, children have an unconditional love for their parents no matter what they're subjected to. And so if we can make their dysfunction function, then it makes it so much better for the kids. But then we do the back end, which is when we're involved with the district attorney's office, if we have to remove children and place them in protective custody. We have intensive family services, which is in-home therapy. We have adoptions, independent living. I know we have completed quite a few adoptions in Lyon County, so it means we're moving our kids of the ones whose parents don't do their case plan or don't have the ability to do it. We're moving them into permanency quicker, which has been great. So there, went over a little bit about our scope. And then the foster care, I guess I probably should really not go ahead of all my slides, but like I said, I don't know what it was, but we have gotten quite a few more homes. I mean, currently right now, if I were to remove a child out of Silver Springs, they would go out of Silver Springs. But if I possibly were removing a child actually in Yerington, we have a couple homes where we didn't have any last year. And so we might be able to keep those kids in their community. So it's been a good thing for the division. And you can do Steve.
We did time certain today in hopes that our district attorney would be able to present with us, but he cannot sneak out of his court duties today. So We do still want to share how critical the DA's office is in ensuring safety and protection of our youth. They work closely with DCFS, as Candy mentioned, on child protection cases, assisting with the children being removed, and then also working on successfully prosecuting child abuse and neglect with partnerships through the Lyon County Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies. So without the district attorney's office, these youth would not be able to move forward into those permanent adoption placements and everything else. So we are greatly appreciative of them and the difficult work that those district attorneys and deputy district attorneys do. The other person who couldn't be with us today, who typically comes, is our CASA director. I serve on the Lyon County CASA board, and I'm always amazed and proud of the work that these volunteers and staff do. Mary Smith, the Lyon County CASA director, wanted to be here today, but she's out creating those positive childhood experiences with her own children. We didn't want to exclude them, as they are a critical intervention in advocacy for youth who've been removed. The goal is that every youth who gets removed from a home will get a CASA advocate assigned to them. We don't have enough volunteers to do that. So again, we're seeking volunteers that would be interested in serving as CASAs to make sure that every youth that gets removed gets a CASA. But you can see that in 2023, we were able to serve 78 abused and neglected children. The volunteers dedicated over 3,240 hours and traveled over 7,300 miles. As Candy mentioned, a lot of times folks or children that get removed don't always get to stay within their county. So these volunteers drive to where these children are, and then they come back and they advocate and provide those reports and information to the courts on the child's behalf. So we're very grateful of them, and always looking for more. So lastly, we just want to remind you guys that we do have community efforts going on throughout the month that you can participate in. Tomorrow we have our garden planting. And what else are we doing? Oh, we partner with the Boys and Girls Club for those gardens being planted, but anybody from the community is welcome to come out and participate, and we strongly encourage them to do so. Tomorrow's also National Wear Blue Day, so wear blue and post on social media using hashtag #GoBlueNV. And we also have some coloring contests going on, as well as CASA's doing a couple events specific to youth that they work with. And with that, we are here for any questions and appreciate your guys' time listening to this presentation.
Commissioner Keller.
I was just curious of, are you getting more demand on human services because of the economy? Because people tend to go downstream as far as cheaper housing, that kind of thing? Or do you see it going the other way because the bigger city has more services, or do you see anything happening?
We have seen a significant increase as a department as a whole. We've implemented recently different database that allows us to look at some of that information as a department as a whole. And so in comparison to past years, how we were looking at it, is it because we're collecting better data, or is it because we're just seeing a significant amount more people, right? The data is telling us it's going up. What we're seeing is that our neighboring cities' costs is becoming more expensive. So you have this balancing act, right? You are closer to services that you are more abundant with in our cities. They have more mental health resources. They have more walkable distance grocery stores. They have more things available to individuals that are living in a lower income bracket, but their housing is so expensive, folks can't afford to live there. So people are moving further and further out into the rural. So what we're seeing now, folks that are coming to us with housing issues and housing specifically, when they come to us, what we're looking at is what you can afford is further out. You're able to live in maybe Esmeralda. You're able to live maybe in Tonopah. And so we're looking at, are you able to get a job there? Are you able to be sustainable there? Do you have a community there? Because helping folks move there without those three things, they will not be successful. But that's where the housing that's low income is available. We do have low income housing in Lyon County. However, the majority of those apartment complexes are on 2 to 3 year wait lists. So when you have somebody that's seeking low affordable housing now, not affordable housing, I'm sorry, but low income housing or subsidized housing, which is totally different than affordable housing, we're not able to successfully place them in 90 days. We're looking at a year to 2 wait, and that's a long time for folks, particularly folks with youth, which is where you end up with youth being found in tents and campers and things like that, and housing, and then being taken away due to neglect because of that reason.
A follow-up, are you tracking that? Is there a statistic of time in the county Like, are they in the county before they come to you, like 6 months, a year? How long are they in the county? Are they transient or are they our local community?
Yeah, so that question's been asked a lot over the last few years, and we've tried to get better at tracking that. I don't have solid, clear data on it at this point in time, particularly those with youth, right? Because a lot of times when we go out and meet with families, youth are hidden because they're fearful. We are mandatory reporters, and people living homeless with youth are concerned that we would report and that they lose their youth. So a lot of times youth get hidden, like during our point in time counts and whatnot. Or they're at school, which is awesome, and we're going out in the daytime, so we just don't see them, right? A lot of our grants, particularly our emergency shelter grant, has recently implemented that we have to verify county residents or state of Nevada residents for 2 years to be able to spend those funds on those individuals. So folks receiving assistance through those grants, we track and identify that they've been a Nevada resident for 2 years, but not necessarily a Lyon County resident. So I don't have great information for you or specifics on that today, but hopefully when we come back and do our point in time count presentation to you, I can try to hone in on that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. So kind of goes with what Commissioner Keller just said. Price of goods, food, and the stress that causes. Have you seen anything tied with some of that, and how do you get word out about programs that maybe will help fill their pantry or whatever?
Absolutely. So parental stress is a number one leading cause that either goes into substance abuse or goes into abuse and neglect, right? If we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if we are not meeting that base, if we don't have food in our stomach, and we don't have safe shelter, we're not making great decisions. In fact, we're making really poor ones in the moment to just try to make sure that we're getting shelter and food. I think post-COVID, they went back to their standard food supplement SNAP benefit, which on average is $16. So you're lucky you're going to be able to buy a gallon of milk every week with that benefit. So we really heavily rely on our food banks, Healthy Communities Coalition for Silver Springs, Yerington, and Dayton, and then a couple churches out there in Fernley is who does that service out in that location. We are not the best marketers. We're social workers and we should have been duly certified, right? When we went and got our degrees in both marketing and public communication and in social work, because it turns out that's really the niche that we're missing. But we do utilize social media. We do heavily rely on word of mouth. We do heavily rely on outreach from the community partners that we work with to make sure that no matter which place that person makes contact, they're getting services wrapped around them to help increase their sustainability. So right now we've been able to utilize our ARPA funds that you guys have so graciously approved to the department through both Lyon County and also Fernley to aid those residents. And we've really been able to make a huge difference in regards to helping folks get economically sustainable. Those funds are ending in December. So post-December, we're not going to be able to have that bigger flexibility because ARPA is available to anybody at 300% of poverty or less, or adjunctly eligible through Medicaid or SNAP. So those funds are going away, which means we're going to have a reduced amount of money available to help people directly. So yeah, it's one of those things that we juggle and deal with every day and is absolutely a contributing factor to parental stress. That's a lot of the different parenting classes we have are targeting reducing parental stress, getting folks connected to services, and then helping them make smart decisions in the moment. But it's one of those things that will be around for a while.
Right. And then Chairman Hockaday, if I may, I've got just a couple, but I know my wife is really good at volunteering at the food bank, and my son really enjoys going there with them. And at the food bank, they seem to, and I'm talking about the one over there on USA Parkway, but they seem to have noticed that donations have dropped off significantly with the increase. Is that something that you're seeing as well?
We don't operate a food bank directly. From our food bank partners, we haven't heard that there's an issue with them obtaining food, but they have seen a significant increase in the amount of people seeking food assistance. And that is not just within Lyon County, but we're hearing that from our regional partners as well, that the number of folks seeking food assistance has just gone through the roof over the last 2 years.
Right on. And then, I just want to, this topic, service response, whatever, however you want to term it, is probably the most difficult and heart wrenching that any Lyon County employee deals with. My hat's off to all of you folks that go into the home, help with that. Yeah.
A few of them, that's
Um,
not all.
And, just when you leave there and you're driving away, I know that's gotta be tough. But, so I just want to thank everyone with Human Services for all they do for, especially for those kids and the elderly folks that really need, your assistance. And then, just shout out, I know the Boys and Girls Club, become more active in the Fernley area with that, just because I know the services they provide. I'll give a shout out to Miss Mortensen and her husband for generous donation to the Boys and Girls Club of Fernley. But 4-H scouts, sports, all those things that we can get those kids part of it really meshes with the ACEs and those positive experiences for kids. So I just want to give a shout out to some of those as well and thank you and your entire department.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We couldn't do it alone. It's the whole community.
Commissioner Keller, did you have your hand up? No. Okay.
I'd just like
Yeah.
to thank Shayla for all the work you've done. I know you pursued tons of grants and you really worked this program hard and we appreciate it.
And thank you for everything you do for the county. You're always out there working for the people and I appreciate that. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a time certain at 11. So what we're going to do at this point is, we have a closed session. So we have to get into the closed session and wait until 11 o'clock for the time certain. I'm going to go ahead and read the closed session into the record here. And we're going to read it in there. Okay, we read it in there. I just didn't know if we had to sign off.
Yes,
with
sir.
it
We
from
just need
here
to.
on this record here for the open. All right, let's go. We will go in there and as soon as we're done, we'll come back and get on to the next item. Where? It's 11:07. We're going to reconvene. And our next item will be 6B. Time certain at 11 a.m. We're 11:08 for possible action to approve a resolution of Lyon County support of a Lyon County lands bill and associated map. Mr. Drew, you're up.
Good morning, commissioners, staff, and public. For your record, Jeremy Drew, Principal Resource Specialist with Resource Concepts. Appreciate your patience, not only this morning with putting me on at 11, but as we've worked through this lands bill process. I think when I first talked to you a couple of years ago about this, I said that it was going to be a marathon and not a sprint. And here we are at the end of one leg, kind of getting ready to start the next, which is the congressional. So Chairman, with your permission, I think what I'll do is just do a quick flyover of the resolution, a quick discussion of the map and some of the things we've added with your direction from the last meeting, and then I will stand for any questions. So the resolution that's before you is really broken down in several main segments. The top half of page 1 really is more background, kind of leading up to why Lyon County need the lands bill and the various things that we've dealt with over the years, whether it be historic mining districts or the explosive growth that you all are going through. Towards the end of the first page and into the second, we kind of talk about the coordination and the process we've used to get to this point in the maps. And then we get into the resolve sections, and really what they do is talk through the components that are on the map. So the Fernley piece, the direct conveyances, the future conveyances, the tribal conveyances, and the withdrawal. And then of course, there's a resolved in there talking about a portion of the money staying within the county. And certainly there's a precedent for that in some of the other lands bills. And then conveying this resolution to our congressional delegation, as well as the governor.
In terms of the maps that are attached, we do have the Friendly Economic Development map that BLM created. I think it's important to stick with this map because it's the one that's currently in on the existing legislation, although we do show that similarly on our map here as well. Getting into our maps, the first table and kind of the chunks that match the resolution are down in the lower left. But those parcels that are marked in green are the parcels that we want directly conveyed from the BLM upon the county's request. They total about 2,800 acres. I don't think there are too many changes from the last time you saw this map. We did pick up the 2 small 4-acre pieces for repeater towers in the south portion of the county. But overall, I think this is really consistent with what you've seen in the last several iterations. The purple table is the parcels that we've marked for future conveyance. So what we would do is put a withdrawal and a hold on those, so no development could occur without your concurrence. And then ultimately, if it looks like there's something the county needs there, we would go to the BLM and request that conveyance. The one that we have added is 7F, which is around the Desert Hills Dairy and the tribal area. That's one that came up in discussion last time. I don't know that it was in the formal motion, but I did want to point out 7F. And again, that's a future expansion for potential economic development, as well as some resolution of existing property boundary issues in that part of the world. Those future conveyances total just shy of 4,000 acres. And then I think the Chairman M, was here a couple meetings ago and talked about the tribal conveyances, and I know you all had some discussion last time. So that request at this point totals 3,214 acres. The only thing we've changed or added since your last meeting at direction of the board is that the east half of the section encompassed in parcel 2T would be restricted from future development. And then we have one last item down there in gray, one parcel just short of 600 acres that would be a withdrawal so that we would limit future development with the exception of the Green Link West transmission lines. Commissioners, that's all I had prepared in terms of formal comments and overview. But again, more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Drew. RCI is just the top-notch public lands firm in the state, I believe. The only comment I have is on the resolution itself. We're missing Congressman Horsford. He should be included as well.
Yeah, Commissioner, great catch. The other thing that I noted, and Andrew, I forgot on this one, is we should probably include the Yerington Paiute tribe given our working relationship there. So good add. Thank you.
So we want to redo the resolution or just be adding it for next?
Given direction.
Yeah, just direction to add in Horsford, Congressman Horsford.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. Those are fairly minor changes, so I think you could approve it with the changes.
All right. Commissioner Keller.
So, Mr. Drew, could you explain what happens on the proposed conveyance? The purple, when we put it in our lands bill, what do we have to do to gain that back if we want to use it?
Yeah, I think what the way I would envision the language, and again, this is all, this is kind of our request that goes to Congress. They'll draft it and we'll have iterations of reviewing their language. But the way I would envision it is essentially Congress would put a withdrawal on those lands so that you can't have some new development, a solar farm or some other right of way issued on there. And then the county, upon request to the BLM would be authorized to convey that to the county. So basically it would kind of be held as is until such a time that the county requested it. And then that triggers all the administrative process that goes on as we've talked about.
So it would keep us out of Congress, but we'd still have to go through the BLM permission, I guess. So,
correct. Yeah. And just to point out, and again, we've discussed this several times, but even if this were to pass as is, those current conveyances still have an administrative process to go through. So you've got a phase 1 ESA, you've got to go through NEPA, all those things. But what Congress is telling the BLM is yes, upon request, you have to convey this to the county. So it does make NEPA a little bit easier for as much as you can do that. But you still have to go through those iterations.
Thank
And
you.
in the fair market value and appraisal.
An advantage for us. Anything further from commissioners on that? Anything from the public input? If not, then I will. What's that? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Hey, yes, this is Cami Hodges from Hodges Transportation for the record. I just wanted to go on record and capture in the meeting minutes that Hodges Transportation supports the verbiage included in the resolution, specifically pertaining to that 2T parcel, which is being conveyed to the Yerington Paiute tribe. The verbiage I'm referring to states the county requests a provision that prohibits development on the eastern half of the section contained in tribal conveyance parcel 2T. We as a company are concerned about encroachment adversely impacting our ability to continue our essential support to the Department of Defense and other organizations. So we will carry on our work as we have historically, and to accomplish that, it's critical for us just that the terrain and surrounding environment remain as natural and sustainable as possible. So therefore we support the decision of the eastern half not being developed, and we appreciate Andrew Haskins and his team and all of their effort that they've been doing for the public lands bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Yes.
So when it goes, now that you brought up the Hodges location, when it goes into tribal and then it becomes tribal, any restriction that we put in it is out the window, right? Because now it belongs to the tribe. Or did we put it on? I'm not sure how that broke out right there at that.
Yeah, so for your record, Jeremy Drew with Resource Concepts, the request to Congress will be that entire parcel be conveyed to the tribe with a stipulation that the eastern half would be precluded from future development. And so we're going to have to work with congressional staff to make sure the language is right. But our intent is to ensure that the eastern half is restricted from future development. And they've been pretty open to that concept. And so my hope is that we can work through getting the language right on that and making that very clear. But that will be part of our due diligence going forward with that congressional language to make sure it sticks and everyone clearly understands the intent.
Is there anything in other lands bills that this has happened where we can focus back onto it?
I personally haven't seen a commissioner, but every lands bill is different.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hawken. And it was my understanding that we appreciated Chairman M coming, but it was also my understanding that he went on record as saying they have no intentions of doing any development there. It was for cultural purposes. So I would think that with their support on that, that would make the legislative language that goes into that very easy to make sure that we get that. Am I missing something there?
Commissioner, I think that is correct. I mean, he's on record. I think they're developing a resolution, so they may flag that. And then back to Commissioner Keller's question there, I have seen tribal conveyances in recent lands bills that have had some specific limitations on development prohibitions. So specific language about not developing a casino, for example, has been in recent ones. This would be a little bit further reaching than that. But I do think there is at least some precedent for limiting what could occur on those parcels.
And especially since they've said that the same way. So fantastic.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. I did want to let the board know that I will be presenting at the tribal council. I believe next week. I've got to confirm that. And they'll be submitting a resolution as well, basically supporting our efforts here with that. So
Anything further? If not, then we've got our comments and public comments, and I need a motion then for this item.
I'd like to make a motion for the county manager to submit a letter to the Bureau of Land Management regarding the utility. Oh, I'm on the wrong
Wrong one.
We're almost there.
Hey, I'm already moving forward.
You're in a hurry. Go ahead.
Move to adjourn?
Yeah.
I move to approve a resolution of Lyon County support of a Lyon County lands bill and the associated map with the corrections that we talked about in the meeting.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Keller and a second by Commissioner Henderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. We'll move on to 6C. Time certain at 11:05. We are past that. For possible action, discussion of the Bureau of Land Management's utility scale solar programmatic, should say problematic, environmental, but I'll go back to programmatic, environmental impact statement and provide direction to the county manager for a comment letter. Mr. Drew.
All right, Commissioners, for your record, Jeremy Drew, Principal Resource Specialist with Resource Concepts. As if there wasn't enough going on, we will be looking today at some background on the BLM's proposal to plan solar development across 11 western states. This is something we're working on for several counties, White Pine and Churchill. I gave the same presentation about 2 hours ago to Churchill County. And we've also been in coordination with NACO on because it is a big effort. I had the benefit of working in 2012 when the first iteration of this came out for Lincoln County too. So I've got a little bit of background. And we also sat in as a cooperating agency for one of those other counties. So what I was going to do, Commissioner, is scroll through quickly the BLM presentation slides just to give everyone a sense of what they're actually proposing and the differences from what they did to 2012 to what they're doing now, to step through a couple specific maps for Lyon County so you clearly understand what the difference between those 4 or 5 different alternatives is, and then present a couple bullets of what I think the main themes of our letter will be. I'm kind of looking for input from you all as to what you ultimately want to have in that. And then I think we'll bring that back at a future meeting because we have until the 18th to final the letter. But this will give you good background and me some direction so that we get the letter right on the first one. So as you'll see, this is the presentation that BLM used in their public meetings. Next slide, please. And again, this is an update to a Western solar plan. Probably the biggest change is that they're going from a 6-state planning area to an 11-state planning area, adding those western states to the north of us because of the technology that's increased. The BLM's really trying to figure out where solar should go on that big scale, which is, in my opinion, problematic. Next slide, please. So they're trying to guide solar proposals into quote unquote better locations. This doesn't necessarily mean they're authorizing any particular project. It's just trying to direct where those applications would go going forward. Changes since 2012, obviously, there's an increased interest in renewable energy because of some of the federal and state mandates that are out there, advanced technologies, and increased, like I said, interest in those northern states. Next slide, please. Some of the key elements, this is a good slide to study if you can't sleep at night, but on the left is how they planned in 2012 and on the right is how they're planning now. The one big difference that we've noticed in 2012, they worked pretty closely with certain counties like Lincoln and Clark and Nye to designate solar energy zones where folks really wanted that development to happen. In some counties like Clark, it happened. In some counties like Lincoln, it didn't because their solar energy zone didn't have a substation. And so even though they kind of had a pre-made place for solar to land, it didn't happen. In addition to that, they also designated what were called variance areas. And you all are familiar with variance areas because we just had a presentation or discussion on Artemisia and their project here around Mason Valley. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit going forward. That is something that I think we really need to push to keep, or at least keep components of, because what it required was coordination with local counties and the BLM even before NEPA started. And to me, that's really important to make sure you get it right. The other thing that came out is there used to be a solar insolation or intensity value that they planned in 2012. So if you look at the state of Nevada as a whole, what you'll notice is those variance areas really are primarily south of US 50, and the northern counties kind of got a free pass on all the solar interest that's going on. So that changes this time around. Doesn't affect Lyon as much, but just so you're aware of that. Next slide, please. This is really interesting. So they did an analysis for their reasonably foreseeable development scenario, which is how much do they think how much solar do they believe will be developed on BLM lands in the next 20 years? Nevada, they identified 48,000 acres, which I can tell you in White Pine County, we probably have that much under solar application right now. I think that number could be low, but even so, they've identified significantly more acreage that would be open for solar application than they would need to achieve their future development scenario. And that's kind of shown in the pie chart in terms of what their preferred alternative would make available, 22 million acres, and what they think needs to be developed across the West, 700,000 acres. Pretty small percentage there. In fact, I think it's 3% of my eyes tell me right. Next slide, please. This slide gets into a little more detail on the comparison of all the alternatives. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I'm a visual person. I'd rather see it on a map, but it'll give you an idea of how they're broken out. Next slide, please. This one just kind of gives you a sense of what the acreage breakdown is by alternative. I still haven't quite figured out how to read this without giving myself a headache, so I'm not going to belabor it. Next slide, please. This is the BLM's preferred alternative, alternative 3, and we'll see this on the map. But essentially what they're looking at is open solar. So they have about 21 exclusion criteria, which we'll look at quickly. That would be off the table. They would exclude anything greater than 10% slope. And they would also require solar development to be within a 10-mile buffer of existing or planned utility lines. Again, we'll look at what that looks like on the map. These are the different resource areas that they address, and I'm not going to get into great detail, but because it's a programmatic EIS, they really do a very cursory review of this. In fact, I think it's one of the flaws in the document, frankly, is that they don't do a deeper dive into some of the potential impacts to these key resources and multiple uses. Something we can certainly flag in the letter. Next slide, please. Design features. So what they would do is go away from the variance area, and they would have areas open for solar application, but in applying, you have to meet a whole set of design features. The one design feature they're missing is any sort of coordination with local government. And so this is one spot where I think we can kind of attempt to jam back in the variance process and that requirement to consult with you all prior to NEPA. Next slide, please. Exclusion criteria. So the BLM did their square best to identify where the exclusion or what exclusion criteria should be included. This is something they started in 2012 and they've updated. And as you'll see by the next slide, this is one part of the exclusion criteria. I think there's maybe 21 different exclusion criteria. Some of them make sense and can be mapped. Some of them maybe don't make a ton of sense and can't be mapped. The biggest flaw I see here, and again, it gets back to trying to get consistent data across 11 states. But for example, a lot of the things that are mapped, they're relying on their resource management plans, right? So if there's mapping in a local resource management plan, they'll pull it into this effort. If you've got a dated resource management plan like we do, there's probably some holes in that data because we're going all the way back to the consolidated Carson City RMP that's more than 20 years old. That's my biggest concern with some of these exclusions. Next slide, please. Let's go one more. The one that I would say that we may want to keep in mind specific to our comments letter is number 21. They talk about state or area specific exclusion areas. And you'll notice in there that it says in Nevada lands in the Ivanpah Valley, Coal Valley, Garden Valley. So if there's specific areas that this county wants to see off limits for solar, we can certainly recommend that back up to the BLM under that exclusion criteria in our letter. Next slide, please. This talks a little bit about what the process would be. Again, this is kind of a high level programmatic EIS. Any of the projects would have to go through specific NEPA analysis, more than likely an EA unless there's additional conflicts, and then it's an EIS. Next slide, please. Let's get through some of these quickly. That's BLM specific. We all know about socioeconomics, how to get involved. Again, this is just another display of the action alternatives and how they vary across the western state, but it gives a good description up there in the top in those pink areas as to what's being excluded and what's not by alternative. And this is where it starts to become more apparent on Lyon County. Next slide, please. So this will give you a sense, the no action alternative, remember, that would be what we're living under now. And you can see there's 134,000 acres available for solar application and significantly more that's excluded. And then the BLM, kind of the way they set it up is alternative one is probably the most, what I'll call solar friendly. So as you can see in that case, the 21 exclusion criteria apply, but nothing else. And that makes available 463,000 acres of this county open for solar applications. That's pretty significant. See that on the map. And then you can see as it goes down the alternatives, alternative 5 kind of becomes the most restrictive, and that number gets down to 85,000. Next slide, please. What I did on these slides, just to give you a visual of what's going on, is kind of pulled out a chunk of the center of the county. In the packet, there are 11 by 17s that show the whole county. When they designed Lyon County, they didn't lay it out real well to fit on a PowerPoint slide. So that's why I did this, but just for you and the public, if you want to take a closer look at this, you can pull those from the packet, or BLM has an online Zoom viewer and you can get in there and zoom in and out of your specific area. But this is the no action alternative. The area in blue is the area that presently a solar applicant could go into that would trigger that variance process, which requires them to coordinate with you and the local BLM before they even get into NEPA. So that's kind of your baseline. The next slide is alternative 1, and you can see by the green how much more area that opens up of the county to potential for solar development on BLM land. Next slide. This next slide starts to pare that down. This is where they add in that 10% slope requirement. And you'll see it come off all the mountaintops and really starts to bottleneck down in around the flanks of the valleys and the toes of the slopes. Next slide. This one's significant in that it is the preferred alternative. So the orange is your resource-based exclusions and the slope, and then that 10-mile from power line criteria now comes into play. So you can see in the pink or purple, depending on how you see the slide, those areas that come off limits because they're greater than 10 miles from power lines. And you'll see of note on this one that like Smith Valley, a lot of that country comes out. But you still have areas like along the East Walker State Park that are open for solar, and areas around the Mason Valley that would still be open for application. Next slide, please. This one adds in a criteria where basically they're trying to funnel solar development into areas that have previously been disturbed. Concept is good. The challenge I have with it is they're basing this on a model that was developed in 2017. And so I'm not convinced that this is catching all the areas that truly should be excluded. The concept here is to, again, try and focus solar into areas that for one reason or another have been previously disturbed, that maybe are all cheatgrass or noxious weed, and you're not losing a lot of natural resource or multiple use value. Again, I think the concept is here. I just think the process they used to get there probably didn't hit the mark. And then if you go to alternative 5, next slide, please. You'll see that in this one, they have the previous disturbed criteria and areas greater than 10 miles from transmission. Again, that would leave the smallest amount of land open for development within the county. Again, I'm not sure that the areas that are open are right. I'm not sure that all the exclusions are right, quite frankly. And that brings us to the main themes of our letter on the next slide. So again, I think our biggest concern, and this is something that NACO has talked about, I think the last 3 public land meetings they've had, is really a big concern with the scope of the planning area. When you get to an 11 statewide area, it's really hard to look at the specific nuance in the district or even in the state. And I think that's causing a lot of problems with this document, even though it's programmatic. And so what we've done for other counties is NACO put together a nice write-up as to why they're concerned with this and how this may run afoul of Planning 2.0. If you remember back 4 or 5 years ago to that whole extravaganza. And what resulted from that is congressional direction for BLM to plan on a more local basis. And so what we've done with some of the other counties is flag this concern and then attach that document that NACO and some of the surrounding counties have put together to specifically address that issue. Because of the broad analysis area, again, the mapping is either incomplete or inaccurate. Many of the exclusion areas rely on mapping and RMPs that are often outdated, which is our case. Based on the above, my recommendation would be to make a push to keep that variance process, or at least the portion of it that requires for local input prior, kind of pre-NEPA or prior to citing the project in the application. There really isn't anything that I see here that prevents speculation. Looking at it selfishly from Lyon County's perspective, if you open up some of the northern counties in the northern states, it may better distribute the speculation. But I'm not so convinced that the required design features are actually going to do anything to curb that issue. I asked, does the county have a preferred alternative? In this particular case, I don't know that I could advocate for any one of the BLM's proposed actions, quite frankly. What I might be inclined to push for and has been pushed for in scoping is the Western Solar Alliance proposal, which is attached. And really that's on the next slide. And if you would slide down that. I know it's hard to see on the screen, but the Western Alliance has really pushed to developing solar on disturbed lands and lower conflict lands. And under B for lower conflict lands, number 6, and it probably would have been number 1 if I had the power of the pen here, but it talks about a mandate to collaborate and coordinate with local governments so that solar applications are going into areas that don't conflict with your existing adopted plans and policies. And so to me, I think it would make some sense to flag support for this. Knowing that the BLM has failed to analyze this in their draft EIS, I think we also need to make some recommendations that might make their action alternatives better, if for no other reason than to give us a say in projects going forward. I know that's a lot to digest, but that's kind of my initial thoughts, and I'm more than willing to try and answer questions or take input from you all. Thank you.
Commissioner Keller.
Yeah, you've kind of covered what I was writing down right at the end, the Western Alliance one. How's the NV Energy? Because all these have to go to NV Energy, and that 10-mile thing from transmission lines, but they actually have to go even closer as far as or they have to put in more structures. Where's that in this whole thing? Because if we're not working with the local provider and within Lyon County, then we're basically building an island that they can't use.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Commissioner. I don't know where NV Energy is on this whole solar programmatic plan. I've talked to several individual solar developers and they aren't particularly wild or fond about this. What we've seen in other counties and in applications even here is that almost anyone that puts in a solar application is looking to sell their power to NV Energy. And NV Energy will tell you that they vet those and make sure that they've done everything right. But those companies are only going to do what's mandated of them, right? And so if coordination with local government comes out, it might make, throwing a 2,000 acre application a heck of a lot easier. I'm sure NV Energy has their opinions on this. I just don't know what they are. As relates to the power line thing, I get what they're trying to do, but what we've experienced is it's not so much proximity to power lines that matter. It's proximity to existing substations and lines with capacity that matters. So in White Pine County, for example, they've probably got a half dozen applications right now, and 3 of them are sitting immediately next to Robinson substation. And then you look at the BLM's proposed alternatives, and you get in between Eureka and Ely, and there's an area out there that's open for solar development because it's right against a transmission line. But in all reality, if they develop there, they would have to run a cogen line 30 miles back to the substation. So we didn't really accomplish anything with that criteria. That's one to me that frankly, I don't think makes a lot of sense. We did in some of our scoping comments suggest that they do a distance criteria to substations, and the BLM elected not to go with that.
Well, we'd have to not only substations, but like you said, capacity on the lines. That's a huge other thing, because we can put in a substation, they can. But then where are they sending it to? And then what we've seen, the last thing that we had from NV Energy was it's about a 5 to 7 year project to get one of these approved. At the same time, NV Energy has the permission to start their own. So why would they bring anybody else on in a competing way, right, to sell it? So without them in this picture on how we do the siting and that type of thing, that I think it needs to be addressed somewhere along the line of the local supplier.
Yeah, I would speak to one point in that, and one of the points that I think we want to make, and maybe one of the recommendations is, great start, send this down to either the state or the district level to finish the plan. Because at that point, you can get counties like this engaged, you can get your NV Energies engaged, you could get GoEd engaged. And then there's more involvement at a local level. I know Lyon County is not a cooperating agency, but I can tell you that you didn't miss a ton in my estimation, because that area is so big that they really don't have the capacity to get into those specific nuanced areas. And that's where I think that 11 state thing really becomes a liability for the PLM.
Yeah, and then, right, like you said, bring the state involved, because they're trying to bring in economic development. And the governor's office is definitely got to provide revenue to keep the state going, and this will hurt it.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just 2 comments. One on the 11 state thing. I don't think the BLM can do a statewide resource management plan in Nevada, much less do a comprehensive plan for 11 states. So I definitely have issues with that. And then, and this is totally off the subject, but it would make a lot more sense to me if the government just subsidized solar on people's houses, then you wouldn't need to worry about transmission lines. Of course, NV Energy wouldn't like that, but it would make a lot more sense if they just put them on individual houses. Save a lot of money too.
Or business.
Yep, that's it.
Did you,
Yeah,
Commissioner Hendricks.
I agree with your recommendations. I do think it's critical that we have coordination with local government. That's a key issue. And take a real closer look and have it done at a lower level so that we can identify the things that are important in each community. And I would like to see NV Energy involved so that we can, I think having that, like Commissioner Keller said, is kind of a key ingredient.
Anything else? 'Cause I definitely agree with the Western Alliance letter, especially item D6. There's got to be local consultation. We've got to be involved in this. So I believe that's part of our input for making sure that the county is always involved in these large projects and applications. Anything further? Finish with commissioner comments. We'll look for public comments. Okay. And remember, you have 3 minutes, and please state your name for the record, write down up there. If anybody, hears the same thing you want to say, then you can get up and say, I agree. Please don't just keep repeating the same message over and over again. That try to keep moving along on that. Thank you.
Leslie Sine, representing the citizens to protect Smith Valley. Solar energy seems to be the only clean energy that does not need to rest exclusively on the backs of rural communities, like all the rest of the extractive industries. This is an opportunity to reduce this burden on the local rurals. However, an extension of time would certainly allow you to look at even more applicable exclusions to reduce this burden to our rural community. And I hope you will consider Mr. Gru's recommendation to submit a request for a time extension in your letter. Came into this with the information that was out there, and as a layperson trying to come up to speed in support of something that would not be too bad, that being alternative 5 coupled with the Western Solar or Western Alliance and throwing in some water exclusions. In listening to Mr. Drew, I do definitely fully support his recommendations to this board. But really emphasizing a critical exclusion, be at least a mile buffer from homes and ag, important wildlife, et cetera. In Smith Valley, the alternatives 1, 2, and 4 show areas available for utility solar applications immediately adjacent to private residences in several areas of the valley. Yes, mine included. So we'd like to see that buffer and also something specific to water. You know, there wasn't a lot about water. We're over pumped and over allocated in Smith and Mason Valleys, and it would be nice to see a specific exclusion for that. I know Mr. Drew said the cooperating agency didn't seem to have much oomph to it, but it would be nice to have Lyon County on that. And I think it'd be a great time to move as quickly as possible to update our public lands policy and form the Public Lands Committee that Commissioner Henderson recently suggested. This PEIS is a ridiculously large document that's not been researched or mapped properly by BLM, has not given anyone enough time to thoroughly study its complexities, much less allow for truly robust public outreach. So thank you for having this presentation and doing what you can to protect Lyon County from unjust solar sprawl. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, staff, and the public for coming today and discussing this important issue. My name is Sheila Anderson, and I'm a range management specialist and ecologist. My previous experience includes 30+ years working with resource concepts, working with Jeremy, and 3 years serving as the natural resource policy analyst for Governor Sandoval during his administration. I'm also a native Nevadan, which I hold high regard for. With regard to the solar programmatic EIS, first I want to talk about the inadequacy of the NEPA analysis in this document. As we've already said, it's impossible to conduct an environmental impact analysis across an 11-state area. Impacts cannot be known until someone looks at the specific proposed project area on the ground. The intent of the programmatic EIS is to expedite permitting by avoiding or truncating the environmental analysis required by NEPA. The plan is for the detailed site-specific and NEPA analysis to be combined with the application to BLM for the project. And there's a high probability that detailed impact analysis can be circumvented by this process. There's an allowance for individual project environmental analysis to be tiered to this programmatic EIS. And as Jeremy said, the analysis is just totally superficial and inadequate for that purpose. The idea would be that a project application could discuss an impact, go to one of the design features, pull it into the project description, thereby negating the impact. And then with no significant impacts, NEPA would not have to be done. There's also a provision in NEPA for what's called a determination of NEPA adequacy, where they could propose that this programmatic EIS provides adequate NEPA already and no further NEPA analysis would be required. And those are two realistic scenarios. The other law that is pertinent here, federal law, is FLPMA, the Federal Land Management and Policy Act, which established the policy.
Oh, your time's up, Sheila.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can I make one concluding statement? I support Jeremy's recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great conclusion.
Chairman Hockaday,
Yes.
I need, I've got to be at the airport at 1 o'clock, so I hate to miss out.
Yeah.
But it sounds as though my vote is going to go with the other four members and with the public obviously supporting Mr. Drew's recommendations. So I'm very confident in the upcoming vote for the letter. But my son will disown me if I don't get him to the airport at 1 o'clock.
You better hurry.
I hope the sheriff is not on the highway.
Maybe he can escort you.
And I want to thank the public for showing up. It's always great to have you here.
Safe trip.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, you need to note the time.
Okay, we have Commissioner Jacobson left at 11:50. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, my name is James Walker. I'm a resident of Smith Valley in the western side in Wellington. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and speak today. My background is I'm a retired NV Energy employee with 32 years. I've been involved in multiple solar farm installation. And I'd just like to reiterate what was said earlier about the impact for the infrastructure mainly. There's high voltage transmission lines, cogen lines, additional substations, and it's a major impact to our natural resources in the valley. I think if that went through, the multi-use functions of the land for residents would be impacted severely. We've got people that ride their horses, they walk their dogs. All of that would be impacted and possibly even removed. That's one of the reasons I moved out there from Reno. It's a beautiful area. So mostly that's what I wanted to bring the attention to. Thank you for your time.
For the record, Jim Kinninger, resident of Smith Valley. My wife and I sent a email letter into each of you. One of the points I'd like to mention is that I do support what Jeremy and Leslie Sonnet said about alternative 5. I would suggest that the county become, if you're not already, a cooperating agency, so that we get this in lead time and more time to plan and react to what's going on. To give another idea, some people in Smith Valley are concerned because we've just had a huge amount of land on the western side cleared by the BLM for fire protection. Now, does this become disturbed land and a great place to put a solar farm? I hope not. So the other thing is our valley is over allocated on water, and this would have an impact on that. So thank you for your help on this.
Thank you. Anybody else in chambers? And I don't see anybody. Oh, yes, go ahead. That's all right.
Carlene Hopkins. One question for Mr. Drew. Who, where, and how do you find them? The Western Solar Alliance.
Go ahead, Mr. Drew.
Who, where, and where do you find them? So who, it's a consortium of both government entities, so several counties are participating in that alliance. I can tell you for sure Humboldt County is, Jacob Brinkerhoff with NACO is, and then there's some conservation organizations and Nature Conservancy I know for sure is involved, the Wilderness Society. And how do you get a hold of them? I will forward an email to Mr. Haskins, and maybe we can post that in terms of a point of contact, because I have it, but I don't have it off the top of my head or I can't rattle off an email address. for you. They're, I believe if you Google them, there's a chance that you might get something, but I'll get you a more direct point of
Okay.
contact. I will
So,
get you a
yeah.
more direct point of
Yeah.
contact.
We'll go ahead and get
Yeah.
that nailed down and get it out. Anything, Commissioner Keller?
Just a comment when he talked about Jacob at NACO. NACO has a representative from every county there, so all the counties are quite aware of what's going on. There's actually a subcommittee that I sit on that looks that over, so it's a whole state.
So, anything further? If not, then we will proceed on with this item. Now, looks like I need a motion. Provide direction.
Mr. Chair, it looks like you might have one more online.
Oh, okay, there we go. I did not see that. Just came up. Leah Wilkinson. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, yes.
All right. Thank you, commissioners and everyone in the chamber. I just wanted to talk about representing some of our fragile Native American areas. I know that SURES is going to have a meeting, or maybe they already did, about Black Mountain, and many of our Mason Valley locals will tell you that there's some amazing petroglyphs and other things that the solar plan to go straight through there, it would affect those areas. So just in representing that there are a lot of people that value those areas, and I hope the commissioners will take that into mind as they're making their decisions for the solar. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see anything else on Zoom and nothing in chambers, so I'll look for a motion on direction.
I got a question
Oh, question, go ahead.
for county manager. When we're making this motion, because it says to submit a letter. And then I was listening to Drew, he's still going to continue to work on it. So what is the motion that you're looking for, to just include what was brought forward at this meeting?
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So I believe the comment period for this is through April 18th, which is the date of our next meeting. So what we would be doing is drafting a letter and bringing that back to the board for approval and for the chair to sign at the next meeting. So what we're looking for is direction as to what you would like to see in that letter, based on, is it the recommendations that we're putting forward here, or is there something else that we're missing? I've heard several ideas, so the motion kind of needs to include what specifically the board would like to see.
Yeah, Commissioner Henderson, you have a comment?
Thank you. I'll try to put it together. I think the major concerns that at least I have are the size. The 11 states is too big. We definitely need to emphasize the cooperation with local governments, and if we're not a cooperating agency, we need to become one, and that should be a standard thing. And we need to take into consideration the water issues that have been brought up. And I mean, I agree, all the alternatives are not good. I don't even think 5 is good. I do like the Western Alliance start from the smart alternative. In fact, I was involved in that when we were wordsmithing that and developing it. So that's kind of what I was getting out of it. I don't know if I heard everything correctly or if I missed something, but that's kind of the direction I think we need to go in.
I agree with everything that Commissioner Henderson has said, but I also wanted the involvement with the state, something to bring economic development, because that's what Flipmud is economic development of part of it is for BLM land. And so the state should, and the the energy provider for the state too. I'd like that somewhere there.
Commissioner Hendricks?
No, I agree with what these two have come up with.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with the fact that we have to be involved.
Yes.
That's just the bottom line. And anything that's going to happen in the county needs to come before the board, and the board needs to decide exactly how things are going to work. It is our county. We should have a say in everything that goes on here. So you want to take a crack at it there? Sounds like you did the best you could on that one.
Sure I can. Mr. Chair, I move that we direct the county manager to continue working with RCI to develop a letter to submit to the Bureau of Land Management regarding their utility scale solar programmatic environment impact statement, given with the directions that the board has provided already.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Keller. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I say it's 4-0, and Commissioner Jacobson said he would agree with us, so we'll leave it at 4-0, and that's a passing resolution there. Art, anything further there before we move on with the final part of our agenda? Let me get back to where we were a long time ago. Agenda requests. Commissioner Keller,
None at this time.
Commissioner Hendricks,
Not at this time.
Commissioner Henderson,
Nothing additional at time. I think we're still working on something.
okay? And I have none either. So Commissioner, final comments, Commissioner Keller.
I did want to point out that we have to watch on these solar fields.
Excuse me, if we can hold all
We'll be
the
down for,
conversation in the
Yep.
audience.
we'll be done in a couple of minutes. Hold it down. Go ahead.
We have to pay attention to what's happening in the solar fields, the problems that are going to happen. If anybody watched the news of what happened in Texas, because they had a huge solar farm up there and a hailstorm came through and demolished the whole thing. So they're worried about it leaking into the groundwater and everything else. So an example of when things go wrong, and it was supposed to be all perfect.
And
Absolutely.
did the developer walk away?
The insurance companies aren't wanting to cover it, saying it's an act of God, so that's kind of an issue.
Anything further, Commissioner Hendricks?
Nope.
Commissioner Henderson?
No, sir.
Okay, and I have no further comments. Final public participation. Anybody has anything final to say? We will have you come forward. It'll be held at this time, and you'll have 3 minutes. Please stand at the podium, recognize yourself with your name and sign in. Yes, ma'am.
Hello and good morning. My name is Deanne Davis, and I wanted to thank you for considering my application today for library trustee. Sorry that I missed it earlier. As I stated in my application that you guys saw, I'm a retired teacher with 30 years experience using libraries with my students, and I've always loved libraries and the information and activities they provide for the community. I would like to help the libraries in Lyon County be the best they can be and be open and available for everyone's education and enjoyment. I've been to some of the library trustee meetings recently and had the chance to meet the other trustees and library director, Wynn Prindle, and they seem like a dedicated group. I would enjoy the opportunity to serve with them. So I just wanted to introduce myself, and I'm also happy to answer any questions you might have.
No. Thank you for volunteering, and now you're selected, so you're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Anything further? If not, I will adjourn the meeting at 12:04.